Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining Plushwork TV. And it is me, Mike Lee, and I've got the one and the only Jason Abrams here. And Jason is putting on an incredible event for the LGBT community. And this is focused on homeless youth. And we're going to be raising money and raising awareness for this cause. So, Jason, it is a pleasure to have you on the platform today. Earlier, we had your host on, Honey Davenport, and we also had the legendary Miss Frieda Payne on, and we had some incredible,
both very good friends of mine.
And we talked about so many incredible things that are going on in the community with homelessness, with poverty, with just people who are not accepted in their homes and being put out, in the streets and having to find families, and they find themselves homeless. So that's what this project is all about. It's about the awareness of that and taking care of our community, which is not, when we think of Black Lives Matters, all life matters, well, this matters too, because these are young adults not having a place to stay or family rejecting them. So I'm so proud of what you're doing. I think this is an incredible task for you to take on, and we want to support you in it. So again, thank you. And tell us a little bit about you and what you've done in the past.
First of all, let me thank you.
Oh,
I really appreciate you and this dedicated segment, actually segments that you've dedicated to Get In and the Ali Forney Center. This is very close to my heart, and I'm very proud of it. And it's an encore presentation, which I'll get into later. But, it had to be. It's very close to my heart, but they need us. And it's very close to everyone's heart, who's on board on the ensemble, as I call it, the lineup of over 50 personalities.
You've got an incredible cast. It was
Yes, I do.
It was so difficult because, I sort of came in at the last minute to choose from this incredible cast. I didn't even know where to start, but I thought, we got to have the host on, of course. And then, we have to start with some of my favorites, of course. But there's just, I could have gone down that entire list.
You have named several that were your favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So you asked about me.
Yes.
My background is in entertainment. It came innately to me as a child, as a matter of fact. I was quite an inquisitive kid. I had to know everything. I asked questions if I didn't know about something. There wasn't really all this, internet and searching, for answers other than in the library, back then. But I just continued to talk to people and meet folks, especially folks of interest to me. I met Diana Ross when I was 7 years old. That changed everything.
Wow.
Miss Ross changed my life completely and probably led to my consciousness because, I was reflecting on this during this time of Black Lives Matter. And, that should have been all the time, but we're there now.
We're here.
And,
yeah.
Yes. And, and as you said, we're here for this cause as well. I think that means that during COVID-19, people became more conscious.
Right.
That's what I'd like to believe. But I personally became conscious as a youngster. I met Diana Ross when I was 7 years old. And after meeting Diana Ross, I loved her music for so long. I had to know about Motown. So then I learned about Martha and the Vandellas and Stevie Wonder, Mary Wells, the Four Tops, the Temptations, Marvin Gaye. And through Miss Ross, I also learned about Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday was the subject of her Academy Award nominated film, Lady Sings the Blues.
Lady Sings the Blues, yeah.
Yes. And, you know, I probably was the only 7-year-old white kid in the suburbs who knew what Strange Fruit was, you know, knew the song Strange Fruit and knew what it was about, you know.
Yeah,
and
that's quite a lot to
yes,
wear as a 7-year-old. Why do you think
yes.
you were so awake to that?
You know, like I said, I was inquisitive. I needed to know, and I was raised that way. You know, I was born that way.
Wow.
You know, everything comes innately to me. You know, I'm not interested in everything, of course. You know, my father was more interested in sports and athletics than me. I was more interested in entertainment and what was going on in the world. You know, not that I don't entertain in attending a sports event, you know, especially in a stadium or, you know, in an arena setting or whatever, where it's very exciting with the audience. It's just like being at a concert or, you know, major festival. But I enjoy entertainment and I needed to get into it. So I didn't waste any time. You know, right in high school, I was already daydreaming in class and reaching out to folks. You know, we weren't texting back then, but I was you know, writing letters and calling folks. And by the time I was in college for broadcasting, you know, I didn't need to take entertainment courses by then because I felt I'd already had a grasp on the industry and I knew my lane, where I was going. And so I wanted to know more about, you know, things that I'd be hiring people to do. So I would know what I was talking about, you know, making videos and things of that nature. So I majored in broadcasting. Of course, the formats all changed like within a year. You know, I learned editing on Beta and all of that. And then next year it was all digital, you know, so.
Isn't that crazy?
It was crazy.
I remember that, right.
So I'm young, but I'm old school.
Again. Right.
Yes, I'm young, but I'm old school. Yes.
That's great. So
you know, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Continue to tell us about you and what you've been doing.
Well, because, you know, like I said, because I had such a diverse introduction into, you know, the world of entertainment through Miss Ross and going to concerts, my parents exposed me to a lot. You know, that same week that I met Diana Ross, I met the group Sha Na Na, who was, you know, already legendary from the 60s. And, you know, we were in Las Vegas when I met Miss Ross, and they threw a drumstick to my table and they broke my Shirley Temple glass. So, of course, they had to ask me backstage to meet me. You know, and Miss Ross had me on stage most of the show the night before. So everywhere we went, every buffet line, you know, everywhere in the hotels, it seemed like everybody was at that Diana Ross show that night. And they would come up to us, you know, my parents, and say, how does it feel to have all of us have paid $50 or $100 to see Diana Ross and your son? So I was like a superstar, you know, in Vegas. I got a little taste at 7 years old. And Miss Ross signed and kissed a napkin for me. And, you know, which she wasn't really known for signing autographs or things of that time, you know, at that time. You know, she was a professional. She stayed on stage and she sang, you know, but she gave me the autograph and I, of course, wanted to show it to the world, and someone stole it, you know, or I misplaced it. And
hey, Jason, have you been able to share this with her?
She's read my bio before. You know, I don't really know, because we've never had a chance to have this kind of conversation. I look forward to it someday. I think, you know, she's told me in the past that she was proud of me, you know, but.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
I hope you get a chance one day to sit and share that story with her. I think it's beautiful. To be
it evolved.
To be a child and have that sort of opening and have someone just plant that seed in you, you know, that put that fire in you, sort of like almost give you a torch and say, you know what, go on and do this great work.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly. That's why I love telling this story, because, I'm so glad you asked me about my background, and I went even further back than
yeah,
than
yeah. That's
than
great.
my career,
Thank you.
um, because there's seeds, and I'm going to go to the Ali Forney Center. I'm going to tour when it's safe again,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be able to tell my story and inspire these young folks as well. This story evolves. When that autograph got stolen, this 7-year-old kid was so inquisitive, I would talk to everybody. And I befriended the waitress that we had every morning. Her name was Jamie, I remember,
Oh, wow.
in the hotel. And we were off the strip. We were in what later became the Debbie Reynolds Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
because my father hadn't been to Las Vegas in many years. And by then it was already, very high roller driven, where, the main strip hotels were mostly occupied with the high rollers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very last minute. We were in LA, and we saw Diana Ross on all the taxi cabs, and I wanted to go. And my father said, you know what, I was in first or second grade. And he says, you know what, we'll extend the vacation. We'll go to Las Vegas and we'll see Diana Ross.
Wow.
And we were in the front row, I recall, and I was dressed like Michael Jackson. And, Miss Ross's background vocalist at the time, Rocky, spotted me, Raquel, and
Mhm.
pointed me out to Miss Ross. And, like I said, the rest was what it was. And when that autograph got stolen, I informed that breakfast waitress, the brunch waitress in the hotel. And, lo and behold, every time Miss Ross was in town, Jamie would play tennis with her personal assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Small world. See, it
Wow.
pays to pay attention to everyone. And
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. And make relationships with everyone, because you never know where they'll lead.
That's
She informed Miss Ross's assistant, and all of a sudden, the night before we were leaving, there was a red light on the phone, if you recall those in the hotels back in the day
yeah,
before
yeah.
the voicemail. And, we ignored it. We thought it was just my grandfather went to pick us up in
Mm-hmm.
the airport on the East Coast the next day. And
Mm-hmm.
we went to dinner. When we got off the elevator, the concierge, the gentleman from the concierge, ran over to us shaking with a paper in his hand. It
Mm-hmm.
was a message from Miss Ross. She'd called
Wow.
the hotel, for me.
Wow.
And within a few weeks, I had an autographed picture in the mail. And then my dad took me to see her. He surprised me and brought my mother and I to Atlantic City to see her. I was 8 years old by then. Miss Ross spotted me right away, had me on her lap. She made sure my mother took pictures of us, and I was recording it. She picked up the recorder. She
Mhm.
said, "You're going to make a record?"
Oh,
And,
that's great.
so I have that record of that night.
Oh my God.
Imagine that. My little boy voice.
That's great.
So,
It's
I'm
amazing.
reminiscing as we're going along here. I
Oh, but that's
apologize.
beautiful. I mean, these are great stories. And
Yes,
you think that, again, going back to, because what we're talking about today is about homeless youth. And we're
exactly.
talking about you going back as a child and
Mm,
having this incredible experience. And I
yes,
think that's a lot of, too, when we talk about why you're doing what you're doing,
yes,
it's about the experience. Because being
absolutely.
homeless and having your family or anyone turn on you and put
Mm,
you out, and I think we called them throwaway kids. We
I
talked
did. I
about that
refer to
earlier.
them.
You referred to
Yes.
them as that. So that's why this event is being put on. And so on
Mm,
tomorrow, which is
yes,
26, uh, and it's going to be at 8 o'clock, correct?
yes.
Okay,
Friday, today.
that's today, right? Yeah, right, right. We're going to make sure that we put that YouTube link on here also, but we want everybody to join in, sponsor this. We want you to donate to this, and we want you to
Yes.
watch this incredible
Hmm.
show with, so like you said, it's like a telethon. There's going to be so
What a
many
dream.
incredible artists,
Yes,
all different walks of life, that are going to come
yes.
together for this one cause, and that is to, uh, the name of the place is Ali, what is it?
It's the Ali Forney Center,
Ali Forney Center, that's right. And so
aliforneycenter.org.
you got it. So why was this so passionate for you? What was in you to do this? What were you thinking? What were you going through in your brain that something needed to take place and you needed to pull this together?
Well, we're on hiatus, us folks in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
I mean, we're planning, we're making moves if and some are taking the opportunity to totally take a hiatus and live their lives. But, during this time, while folks are returning to, their positions and just to enjoying life again, the entertainment business is going to remain touched by the COVID-19 pandemic. Touring, appearances, celebrations, festivals, everything has pretty much been postponed indefinitely. And some are scheduled now for all the way into 2021 next year. So I was working remotely from Massachusetts, where I am now, caregiving for my mother. My mother just had some physical setbacks, and I decided it would be more safe if I were here with her during this time. I had the unique opportunity to do so. And, by being off, if you will. And during that time, I felt very much like I needed to do something. It was before all the marching and everything, which I wanted more to be a part of. But, my mother's safety, was my priority. So, I couldn't just sit here. I felt privileged to be so safe. And another client of mine and I rushed out some releases that touched on another cause, which was domestic violence and abuse, which, was on the rise during the pandemic, as the pandemic continued and everyone was quarantined, because of course you were quarantined at home with someone who was abusing you if that were the case.
Right.
And
I hear,
so,
I hear, Jason, that is spiking up from child abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and also domestic violence.
Yes. And so my client, went through a bad marriage and was finally, reaching back and reinventing herself and returning to the music industry herself, and wanted to share her experiences. And so she recorded some songs, one called Human and, another song called Words. And while I was promoting that for her, marketing that for her, I was looking at all the causes, to be honest with you, I wanted to know about everything that was happening. Like I said, referring back to that inquisitive young boy, that's never changed.
Right.
And that's when I fell upon this cause, that it was also that it was eclipsed. It was taking a back seat to a lot of the political buffoonery, as I refer to it, division in this country, division in the world, other causes, COVID itself, so since around 2015 to maybe 2017, as the economy was changing, they went from getting $100,000 from events, sometimes $1 million donations to, not as the well was getting drier, celebrities and, different folks from all walks of life would visit the center and tour and promote it. Some contributed, but this is a cause that's continuously in need. These kids, we refer to them, some of them throwaway kids, that breaks my heart to use that term, but it is what it is. And that's not going to change. That's because these families aren't accepting of them and their sexuality, and I knew that this particular cause needed me, and I'll say us, because I knew that I could make a few phone calls and at least get a couple of folks on board.
Well, you got more than a couple.
And I ended up with over 50.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean to you to have so many people come together? That's 50 people.
Yes.
There are probably 50 more people who don't even know about it who
Right.
participate. And what does that mean also when COVID lets up? This could be something that is, can you imagine if this was at a venue right now with people there and all of these acts, or even half of them, were on and off stage? This would be like some award ceremony.
You know what?
Huge.
Some of these performances and appearances were taped. This is an encore presentation.
Mm-hmm.
We had some technical issues during the technical issues during the last stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it affected the way that the program was viewed. And I felt that this cause would continue. This cause needed this to be right, and so I didn't lament. Maybe for a few hours, I stepped back, and then I picked the pieces of myself up from off the floor. It certainly wasn't a failure. Almost 1,000 folks stayed patient for a 2-hour delay in the broadcast. Reportedly, so many folks were trying to view it, and at that time, there were a lot of delays and things with, just the web in general. And so I don't really know all of the details, but in any case, I started making phone calls and texting and emailing as early as 3:00 that morning, and everybody remained on board. That were already on board. They stayed supportive, and they started making calls. And I asked others who didn't have enough time to participate, in the previous stream, if they would participate in this encore presentation. Before you know it, there was over 50.
Wow.
And I didn't go low. Dionne Warwick was one of the first ones, that I had the conversation with. And, she honestly, she is one of the most conscious and philanthropic individuals in the ensemble of Get In. She's done so much for AIDS, for
yes, she has. I mean, that's what Friends
youngsters.
Are for. I mean, that whole project, that's what Friends Are For, was
Of
about
course.
that. Wow.
And We Are the World. Miss Warwick was.
She sure was.
In the lineup of We Are the World.
Right there with Michael and Quincy and everyone.
Michael,
she sure was, yeah.
Yes.
Wow. You've done. That's what you've done. You've done that.
Wow.
I didn't see that point, but that's what you've done. You've done what Quincy and Michael did with We Are the World. You've brought all these people together to do something incredible, Jason.
I have no corporate sponsors. This was an organic effort. These folks didn't ask me that either. Everybody who's on here, some of them didn't even so much as hear me finish the request before, they heard homeless LGBTQ youth, and, they took my phone call, and, before I knew it, I had their videos or they were on live, and
wow,
it was just very moving.
It's funny. I got an email from our friend Angelo Ellaby, and I want to thank
Angelo. Yes,
I want to thank Angelo for putting an email out, because when I saw it, and a lot of times I don't address my emails, but I always look at Angelo's emails. But that when I saw it, I actually called him back, and I was like, Angelo, what is this?
Yes.
But this looks pretty incredible. All these.
Angelo told me, yes.
Yeah, and I said, what is this? And he said, well, he told me about the event. And he said, well, take a look at it, read it, and call me back if you're interested. And I said,
yes.
I'm going to do that. And so when I called him back, I said the first thing, I told him, and I said, well, and I'll tell you, and I told Frieda tonight. I said, when I looked up and down that list, it was so difficult to choose. But I said, if I only had one choice right now, I'm going to have to choose Frieda. And the reason why is because she's probably one of the oldest people on the platform, along with Dion. I've interviewed Dion before, but I never interviewed Frieda. And I always wanted to sit and have a conversation.
Frieda's a wonderful conversation.
Oh my God. It's incredibly beautiful, talented.
My goodness, is she beautiful.
still to this
and talented.
so poised and beautiful and elegant and just gracious. And so that's, I grew up, and I told her, my mom, my grandmother, we all listened to Band of Gold. I grew up on the song. I remember wanting to be on Soul Train because that song was on and you just wanted to dance to it. Back in the day, they had this dance called the Robot. And you just do
That
all
sounds
these
fun.
moves. But I remember seeing her on like these different programs. And she was just a beautiful, beautiful like queen, like just a beautiful.
Oh, she is a queen.
But
She, I'm so inspired by Frieda as well.
Yeah.
Frieda has been a close friend of mine for almost 20 or more years.
Wow.
And, for her to be a part of this, most of these folks, a majority of these folks are either in my professional life now or have been associated with me in the past, or we've had friendships, and, people in this business, you're out. Bubba Knight, Gladys Knight's brother, Harold, once told me, because I kept saying, I'd see them a lot. Gladys would be in New York quite a bit for KISS and, different tours. And, I would be there. I'd get the call from Bubba sometimes for a midnight show even, and my mom and I would show up. And, he once said to me when I said, I miss you guys, and he said, Jason, in this business, we don't always get to see each other, but, it doesn't mean we don't care about each other.
Right.
And, that's always remained, and these folks, some of them I hadn't spoke to in many years, and I called them up and, they answered, and, we spoke just like you and I are right now.
Wow.
Like we never left off.
That's amazing. Well, I'm so honored to have met you, and I really thank
you,
Angelo Ellerby, for that. And
I thank Angelo Ellerby as well. He's been wonderful. Double Exposure Media Relations.
Absolutely.
Deborah and Kevin, his wonderful team.
Tomorrow night at 8:00, I want everybody to definitely tune in, and we're going to put the link on this interview. We've got Tuck and Patty coming up in just a few moments, so we're going to go ahead and get ready for that interview. Is there anything else you want to share with us about tomorrow's event? I wish this interview we had 15 more minutes, because there's so many more things I just want to sit and talk to you about, but we've got more interviews.
We'll continue in the future.
We'll continue with this, absolutely. And possibly we've got Crystal next week. So if we have Crystal next week, I'd like to get you back again next week.
That sounds good.
Do a follow-up.
I'll be back.
Do a follow-up on next week.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk about you.
Anything else you want to say before we leave?
I just want to ask everybody to contribute what they can. You'll be able to contribute directly through a link to the Ali Forney Center. We're not monetized, so there isn't the button. This is a fundraiser drive, and it will continue to remain on the YouTube platform after it streams live on Friday. And so you'll be able to return to it and see all of your favorite moments. I call this encore presentation more stars, more hearts, and more memorable moments.
Absolutely. We also want to give a big shout out to Get Out Magazine.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely, I got you. We want to give a big shout out to them, because
Get Out Magazine is the platform. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, look, we will talk to you later. I want everybody, please join us tomorrow at 8:00. This is such a serious issue and such a great cause. Make sure you donate. We're going to put the link there for you all to join us tomorrow. Also, make sure you donate. We need information. That's the main thing. $1, $5, $10, $1,000, whatever you have.
It all counts. It all helps.
All adds up. Please. And Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you. Everybody have a good night.
Pleasure meeting you.
Plush Work, and we will see you all next time. Thank you for joining us.